Okay, I am super excited to have this call tonight. We were going to do a panel and have a bunch of people on tonight and talk about recruiting. Some things fell through, and Meghan is here tonight doing it kind of by herself. But honestly, you guys are going to hear from somebody who is a master of recruiting. She is one that consistently hits the 3 by 2,500. She is an incredible, incredible leader. And I'm just super excited for you guys to hear from her. So I love so much also that she wanted to get questions from everyone. So we did put out people to send in some questions. So I think that you're going to get so much good information from her. I'm just going to mute and I'm going to let you take it away, Meghan. And if I lose reception, then you'll just be able to end it, if that's okay.
Yes. Yep.
Thank
Sorry,
you. Thank you.
As I'm like shuffling all my papers. So.
Oh, you're fine.
Anyway, I did take a lot of notes because I feel like there's so many different directions that we can take this, and I want to stay focused and get through as much as I can. So if I'm looking down, that is why, because my brain works like a squirrel and I would go squirrely and lose track of everything and everyone. So anyway, so I kept circling around like what I wanted to talk about on this call, because this is the thing, like there is so many calls in recruiting, right? Like in our business, we have our website where we have like built-in oh, people are not muted. Do I have to mute? There we go. Okay. We have built-in resources to our team website where we have example conversation starters. We have the weekly podcast from Zaya that often talks about recruiting. So it's a common conversation and a common topic where we have so many resources on. So the problem is not the resources. The problem is not the amount of information, the amount of knowledge that is there and available to us to build our teams and to have these conversations. So common we think, right? If we just like have the time to study enough, if we can just say the right words, if we can just know the perfect strategy. And I know this because a lot of your questions were based around these things. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Those are exactly all of your fears, all of your questions are exactly mine. And we're exactly mine on a much bigger level 3 years ago, okay? If we had better organizational skills, if we were better at like having like, when do I follow up, blah, blah, blah. You guys, I am the most least organized person. I mean, freaking look at this desk right here, okay? Like you do not have to be organized to have success with Zaya. If we were just better with our words, if we could say it like they said it, whatever your reasons or thoughts that you are filling your brain with to keep you from taking action. We tell ourselves this to keep ourselves safe. You guys, this is normal. I know we talk about thought work and brain work all the time. This is normal. And unless we take action that teaches our brain differently, those are the thoughts that will become a reality. Those are the thoughts that will become our truth. Okay, so it's not going to be that if you do all these things first, then you will start having conversations about the opportunity. Then you will start building a team. It is simply a decision. You get to make a decision. It starts with a decision. So just a little bit about me. When I started Zaya, I had done a previous direct sales company for 2.5 years, worked my butt off, and it never became much of anything for me. So that reality of direct sales in my mind was that they were like bogus, that they didn't work, whatever. So Zaya creeps along into my life 2.5 years later, and I pushed it away, but something felt different. And I resisted. You can ask Sarah. Our conversations and my questions were plenty when I was thinking about joining the opportunity, because I had so many reasons in my head as to why it wasn't going to work for me. And so, but something felt different. And the more I learned about Zaya, the more I recognized that it was different, and really there was nothing for me to lose. It felt different. And just simply you guys being here tells me that that has been or is true for you as well. So there is a reason that you are here, that you know that something different is possible for your life, for other people's lives as you share this with them. So I made a decision. Early on. If I wanted to do something different, if I wanted to create something different this time, I had to be willing to do something different. I had to be willing to take that action. And if I wanted to grow my business and my income to the level that my goals were at, I had to build a team. Okay. And so I started having the conversations. Were they really messy at first and awkward? Absolutely. Was I scared out of my mind? Yes. But I did it anyway because I knew if unless I started doing that, unless I started taking that action, the belief in myself and my ability to have these conversations would not grow. So it really does just start with a decision. I started with zero belief in myself in having these conversations because of my past experience. I didn't think I knew how. I hadn't done it before. And I didn't have that belief in that company like I do with Zaya. So another question to ask yourself, what do you know about Zaya? What do you know about what it is that they're stepping into if they choose to say yes? What are the things that you love? How has it changed your life? Big or small, okay? Big or small, whether it's just the fact that you decided to take a chance on yourself and start a business. Like that's huge to simply just say yes to yourself. Like having that little boost of confidence, having something that's yours. So, what are the things that you believe in? What are the things that you know? And go from that energy. Remind yourself of that. What is your belief in yourself? What do you know about yourself? What is your belief in the opportunity of Zaya? And I will talk to some specifics because there are reasons, you guys, that I have had success with Zaya when I didn't have it before. There are reasons why people are having success with Zaya where they maybe didn't before or they aren't in other places. Zaya is an incredible opportunity and they have all of the eggs in the basket to be something huge for you and for those that you choose to share it with. So I already went through that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I wanted to share that because what I can tell you, like I'm going to speak to the fears that you guys had. I'm going to share some tips. I'm going to share some things that I do. Oh, sorry. I thought you said make sure I'm muted. I'm like, all right. Sorry. I was like reading it to me. Anyway, but I wanted to share that first, you guys, because what I can tell you is my belief in myself and my ability to share this business with others that comes from here, okay? Because I know all of you are wanting to come from here. The fact that you are afraid of being salesy, afraid of being pushy, all of these things that you guys said, that means you're wanting to come from here. And you're wanting people to feel like how genuine you are and wanting to offer this opportunity to them. The simple fact that you're afraid of being salesy tells me that you are incapable of being salesy, okay? But if I wasn't willing to take that messy action, to send those messages that I word vomited on people when I was sharing the opportunity with them, I never would have gotten better. I mean, think of your first party. I think parties are like a safe place for a lot of us. Think of how much you've grown now from how you've grown then. What is it that you did? You took action. You did it again. You did it again. You got better. You tweaked. So unless you are taking that action, unless you are starting those conversations, that belief will not grow within yourself. And it's okay if your belief is this tiny in the beginning. It will grow. And I promise you it will grow if you take that action. And we can rewire our brains. We can teach our brains that actually, no, I will not die if I invite someone to rep with me. Okay? Because that is what our brain is programmed to do. So don't feel like you're weird or abnormal, or because you're having these thoughts or these fears that you don't have the ability to have success and to do something different. That is how we are wired, and it is normal. Okay? But you can rewire your brain and you can teach your brain that you are actually safe. There's one of my business coaches said this, and I love it. It just says it takes taking atypical action to get atypical results. If you're not willing to get uncomfortable in this business, you cannot expect extraordinary results. Okay. At the end of the day, you guys, each and every one of us actually does know how to share this opportunity. It's by having conversations, right? It's by inviting people. It's by offering it to people. And will everyone say yes? Absolutely not. Did you say yes your first time when somebody reached out to you? Did you sit and wait and watch? Did you have fears and insecurities? I mean, probably most of you, yes. I mean, there's a few rare that are just like, yes, let's do this. That sounds amazing to like get uncomfortable and show my outfit of the day on a live story. Like, that's not the case, you guys, and that's okay. Like, so it's building that trust and that consistency and you believing in them that may be the thing that gets them to be like, okay, if she believes in me, maybe I can believe in myself too. So we know what to do. It's having that conversation, but our brains are designed to keep us safe. So they give us a laundry list of thoughts and reasons why we should not do that uncomfortable thing. Okay. And the more we put it off, the more we push it off, the more true that thought is going to become, the more of a reality it will become. The moment you decide to do something different, to get uncomfortable, to step off that ledge, you will then teach your brain that it's actually okay and that you are safe, and you will build your confidence, you will build your commitment, and you will build your competency in having these conversations. It's okay to fail. I think was it like Thomas Edison? Like, I just think it depends on what you view failure as. He said something like, I have not failed. I just learned 10,000 ways not to make the light bulb. Now, it's not going to take 10,000 conversations, okay? Like, it will not take that many. But I can promise you, as you start to have more conversations, and the more willing you are to do that, the more often you're willing to do that. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. The more confidence you will have, and you will get those yeses. And then when you get those yeses, you're going to be like, why didn't I ask her? Why didn't I ask her? Because you're going to start recognizing that you actually do know how to talk about this business. When you put yourself out there, take a bet on yourself, the belief in you increases, and you teach your brain that you actually won't die, like I said. So I'm going to go on to like talk about the different things that you guys listed out in your questions to me. So I love what Wendy said, because this just goes to show what I've been sharing. I've realized the more you share, the more normal the conversations are and the better it feels. That couldn't be more true. Some of you guys talked about like being in real life, like how awkward it feels. And I'll be honest, I still am working on that, but it actually like it feels so much more natural than it used to be. And I'll get to that in a second. So one of the things that somebody said is what to say. Okay, what do we say? Now I'm going to share some examples in a minute, but I want to challenge you to remember that you are human. Okay, to detach yourself from the result. If you are so worried about what to say, you are still making their answer mean something about you. It's okay if they said no. Celebrate that no, because you just planted a seed. Okay, you just planted a seed of belief that may grow into something. So stop making it about you and make it about her. What would you say? And then ask yourself, okay, so what do I say? What would you say if it was your husband that asked you? What would you say if it was your upline that asked you? What would you say if it was someone that you felt completely confident with talking about the opportunity, what it is that you do as a rep? What would you say then? How would you ask them? Same thing. Don't overthink it. Like, they're all humans. Just be a human, be yourself. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to ask to unmute you, Lacey. I thought you were not muted. Anyway, okay, so I will share some examples, but again, I just ask you to trust yourself and just stop for a second. Like, okay, what if I did know what to say? Then what would I say? Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. Don't make it weird. Like, your fear of making it weird is going to make it weird. So I know, like, I started with fears, and that's okay. I don't want you to like not start until you don't have fears, because by taking that action is what's going to diminish that fear. So seeing people in real life, that was one that somebody said, and just like, oh, it's so awkward, like when I see them in real life, or if they talk to me. So I love this one. I recently worked with a business coach that I thought I was like doing really good, because I wasn't texting really anymore. I was always doing voice conversations. But then he challenged me to start having phone conversations or in-person conversations. And at first I was like, no, like that sounds terrifying. What I can tell you, it has been a game changer, and I will tell you why in a moment. But I want to ask you guys. So I think I compare the two. If somebody asked you, what do you do for a living? Okay, what would you say about Zaya? You can either put it in the chat, you can just think about it. And I compare this because my business coach had me do this as well, because I realized what I usually would say, and we get all awkward about it, right? I would say something like, oh, I'm a rep for Zaya or whatever, blah, blah, blah. If somebody asked me about my nursing career, I would have no shame in sharing about it. I would share completely open. I would talk about it, whatever. So why is it that we have shame about Zaya? So that's something that you get to work on and figure out, because again, what do you know? What is actually true about Zaya? And what are you basing your responses off the fear of what the others might think or say? Okay, because at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you know what you are inviting them into, and you know what is possible with Zaya, and you know that you are wanting to share this with them. You want to bless their life. Okay. So just kind of getting more comfortable with yourself, and maybe practicing with someone. Like, what do you do? Instead of saying I'm a rep for Zaya Active, I now say I own an activewear business. You guys are business owners, like 100%. And you can decide what you say, how you say it, but own the fact that you are a business owner. Okay. Yes, we rep with Zaya. We are part of Zaya Active, but you are a business owner. And there's no shame in sharing about that. If your neighbor owns like a gymnastics gym, are they going to be weird and awkward about it? No. So why are we? Okay. What we have is something that's legitimate and incredible because it's accessible to all people. You can literally do it from the couch, in your bed, wherever. Okay. Okay. And then another one somebody said was being ignored. So what if they didn't ignore you? Number one. Okay. Yes, I sell premium activewear. I love that. How many times have you, so being ignored, I want to ask you, how many times have you read a message and then forgot to respond? Because like your child is wiping poop on the wall or something. Okay. They are not eating, breathing Zaya like you are. Okay. So we are the ones that are creating that story in our head of why it is that they're not responding. It's usually nothing. Okay. So something that I do is if I send a message and they don't respond, and this goes for people in parties, this goes for hostesses, this goes for reps, it goes for all of it. I'll just especially the rep one, I'll just send them a message in a couple days, 2 or 3 days, be like, sorry if that was random and crazy. I promise I'm not a crazy person. Okay, maybe kind of, haha. Like just make it funny, make it light, like address the elephant in the room. Whatever you think they're thinking, put that in the conversation back to them. Okay. Just be a human, make a joke. So that's what I do a lot when people ignore me. And 97% of the time, 98% of the time, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like my child was wiping poop on the wall. Okay. Like there was something going on where they meant to respond and they didn't. And they appreciate the follow-up. And that doesn't mean they always say yes at that point, but I now have an opportunity to have a conversation with them. And I now have an opportunity to hear what their objections are because I actually love objections. Okay. And then another one, and we'll talk about that in a second, but another one you said is if they join, I'm successful for their success. Now, this is one that I have struggled with big time, but this is the thing. Sarah, who is here today, Brittany Duncan, I mean, some of the people that have been here from the beginning, did they create success? Did they have someone teaching them what to do? No. Okay. They figured it out. So those that, yes, be their cheerleader, plug them into resources, but they have all the resources they need. You are simply there to support, to love, to cheerlead, and you'll figure that out as you go. You'll grow and tweak and whatever. But what if their success is not, if you're not responsible for it? Okay. But I get that. I feel that. I resonate with that because that was something that I struggled with for a long time and still have to remind myself of. But just know that if they want the success just like you, they will figure it out regardless if you are present or not. Another one was, how long do I wait to follow up? Honestly, like I said, I'm one of the most least organized people that there are. I do use something called Teamsy that has helped me a ton with like not losing people. It's just a CRM. And so when I'm inviting to rep or host or whatever, when I'm actually creating an offer, then I will set a follow-up time frame. And for me, it's about the individual. And I just trust yourself, but like anywhere from like 2 to 4 days. Okay. And then you can decide after that. One thing though, I don't know if you guys use the app, the Zaya app. One thing that I've learned is if you're at the place where you've shared the starter kit or if you'd shared something with them about the opportunity, if you share it from the app and there's little videos in there that show you how, it will actually notify you every time they look at it. So that's been a huge resource for me to be like, oh, they're still thinking about it. So then I know to like make sure I'm like, building and connecting with that relationship, and then, then asking and following up with them. So that's just like a little tip. I'm not perfect at using that again, but that is something that I do like to use as a tool to help me like know if they're still thinking about it. Because there'll be sometimes it's like people that I haven't talked to for like over a month, and then all of a sudden I get a notification that they looked at the starter kit. Okay, so it's kind of cool. And then so again, just the whole follow-up, like how many days, there's really no science to that. I do put them in Teamsy, like I said. Am I always perfect at doing my Teamsy? No. But you guys, this business to have success does not require perfection. It requires consistency and being intentional with the things we know to do. And the things we know to do that actually build our business are the things outlined in the 90-day fall focus thing that we're doing. So if we're not in there, get in there, because those are the things that if you are doing and taking action in those areas, your business will grow, your confidence will grow. So just ask yourself, how much of that are you actually doing and how much of that you're actually just thinking about doing? Okay. And then another question, how long do I build the relationship? Again, it depends. But again, if you're truly like, if you're making it about them in the sense where you are interested in them, you are going to figure out the things and the conversation pieces to start that conversation about the rep opportunity. And you'll know when to offer. And they might say no. Again, that's okay. Like, a seed has been planted. I can't tell you how many reps of mine said no at first. And I followed up so many times. And are they mad that I followed up with them? No. I know it's normal to have that fear that we're like being annoying or whatever. But if you've had a conversation where you felt like it was growing and that they were interested, and then all of a sudden they're like disappeared, I said no for 6 months. I mean, I'll tell you, with my first company that I was with, I literally watched the girl for a year and didn't like, it was before stories were around. So she didn't know I was watching. I was just like a creeper, and I wouldn't like her comment on anything because then she wouldn't know. For a freaking year. Okay, so people are watching, people are paying attention. The work that you do now is going to pay off in 30 days, 90 days, 6 months. Okay, so just be consistent in having those conversations. Another thing was just get to the point. That you're having a conversation just to get to that point. Like, you have an alternative motive. Okay, so what? I mean, we do, right? But it's a good motive. I mean, it's a motive that we have to offer something that could bless their lives dramatically. So what? If that is one of the reasons for us connecting with them, it's because we saw that they could be blessed by this, and we're cultivating that relationship. And then as long as we're not like, oh, she said no, I'm not going to be friends with her, then that's where it's just like, it's not sincere, right? If they say no, then put it however you do your thing. Teamsy, okay, I have Teamsy. I still put them in there to connect with them. They still come up on my list to connect with them every 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. So I'm still building that relationship. I'm not just like dropping them because they said no, okay? Sometimes people are testing you. Sometimes people are testing you because they've had their trust affected in the past. And so they're seeing, do they actually care or do they just want to get me? Okay, we're not here to get reps. And then the MLM fear with the cold market. You guys, there's always going to be those people, and that's okay. Okay, there's always going to be those people. We know that that is not what we are. We know that we are a legitimate business. Honestly, now that I know, I am thinking of how brainwashed like the healthcare is. Like nurses work their asses off and they are not treated well and their income is capped. And then the people that are making those decisions are sitting in comfy chairs and have never worked a day on the bedside of a patient. Okay, that's the scam, if anything. What we have is something so completely different and so completely in our control. That we can create whatever it is that we want. Leaps. Oh, so Gina, so when that happens, I literally just say, hey, I know this is something you've been thinking about. Just tell me, what is your number one fear in taking that jump? Just ask them straight out. Ask for what you want. I think we have a fear of like asking for what we want. And so we make it awkward with all these extra things. Then people are confused and they're like, what did they say? Just ask for what you want. Have you gotten on a voice message with her? Yeah, I mean, so you can also, there's like an apology message. And the thing is, just speak to her objections in your content, continue to connect with her, and she's still watching. And she may come around, it may take some time, but just get really clear on what her objections are. And maybe she shared them with you and just speak to those. And then keep moving, keep going, because when it's her time, she'll decide. And if she doesn't decide, then we can't force either, but just keep showing up and being you. Okay. And then the scared of being salesy, you guys. So I did a mastermind for my team after I worked with my business coach about conversations about the opportunity and about moving them from our inbox. Okay. Because there's texting, right? And then there's voice messages, and then there's a phone call, and then there's a Zoom call, and then there's in person, and everyone's a little bit better. And like I said, I voice messaged a lot. I felt like I was doing a really good job, but I realized I still was not willing to get on a phone conversation because I was afraid, right? I was afraid of all those things that you guys talked about being afraid of. And there's like a framework to a conversation, but what I can tell you is there were people that I was talking to for years, and I would send a voice message, I would wait. And then while we wait, we overthink things and get in our head and tell us all these stories of why that person hasn't responded, right? And there were people that I'd done that with for a year. Okay, I finally was like, all right, I'm going to be brave. And I got on a phone conversation with them, and guess what they did? They started a business with Zaya. Okay, one-on-one conversations is like a lost art. And the best opportunity you have for people to feel of your sincerity, of how genuine you are, or of how much you care about them, is getting on a phone conversation with them. Okay. And we're actually going to be doing a call with my business coach in the near future where we'll dive deeper into what this conversation looks like. But essentially, he talks about John Maxwell. Anytime John Maxwell got on a phone call with someone or something, he would put a big red letter L at the top of his paper. And what that means is just to listen. Okay, so you get on that phone conversation simply to talk with them, to listen to them, to catch up with them, be interested in them. They're going to feel so loved and have their cup so filled because people actually really enjoy talking about themselves. So if that is the simple thing that you're doing is asking questions and listening, and that's all that they get from that day, they're going to feel freaking amazing. And then the fact that they let you do all the asking and let them do all the talking, they're going to be so much more likely to then listen to you. It's human nature to be like, oh, I just talked a bunch. Now it's her turn. Okay. So then you strategically do in the conversation, you then end with, oh, what do you do for a living? I mean, and it depends on what your relationship is. If you already know, how is your job? What do you love about it? What would you change about it? Okay. What do you love about being a stay-at-home mom? Like, how are your kids driving you crazy? Whatever. So you're going to learn what those objections are. You guys, objections are amazing because then we know what to speak to. Okay. Versus just like fire hosing all the reasons why to be a rep. Because then when you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So making it individual and making it for them. And then that's when you can turn that conversation and you can start talk, because it just depends. I mean, there's different ways to do this, but typically in these phone conversations, they know that's why we're having this conversation. But you start out by being interested in them and caring about them and what it is that they do. Okay. And then you turn and you can then share a little about your story and then share your goal with them and then speak to their objections through, there's 3 different things: the product, the compensation plan, and then, oh my gosh, what was the third one? I can't remember. But there's 3 things to like look for. Oh, right here. Nope. I can't even remember them. See, imperfection, it's fine. Fumbling over your words, it's fine. But there's 3 things to look for in a direct sales company, and Zaya has all 3 of them in a very strong way. And those are the things that we will dive into a little bit later. But what do you know about the products? What do you know about the compensation plan and timing and culture / community? Okay, what do you know about those things? And those are the things that you're going to speak to in that conversation. And then at the end of the conversation, people also, a fear that you guys shared was like, how do you transition? At the end, you just say, hey, like, I know I've been on your side of the conversation. I mean, you say it however you want to say it, but something like this: I've been on your side of the conversation. I know I had a ton of questions and I was scared to ask some of them, honestly. I want you to know that I'm an open book. I will share the good, the bad, and the ugly. What questions do you have? And end it there. Okay. And then let them ask it. And then the sell just happens. Okay. And it doesn't always happen, but it just happens. You will get better at it, and you will be able to get into those meaningful conversations where people, it just makes sense. They recognize, like, why wouldn't they, type of thing. And then one thing somebody and I'm actually going to give you guys homework. What time is it? So I don't want to go way super long on this. So who, okay, that was a question, like, who do I ask? So number 1, hostesses. And I'm actually going to invite you guys to listen to Jill McLaren's podcast that's on our back office right now. She goes through this in depth. Okay. So in our hostesses, pre, during, after, every single time, you guys, how many parties a month do you do in a year or in a month? What's like your average? 4-ish, 6-ish, 5-ish, 5. Okay. 5 times 12, that's 60. That's 60 conversations you could be having about the opportunity in a year. And what do those 5 parties usually bring into your space? Like, let's just say a low average of 10 people per hostess. Okay. That's like 50 per month. If you're doing 5, that's 600 people that you could be having this conversation with. We have people to talk to. We have people we can share it with. You have, who are your followers, who are your friends on Facebook, who are your customers, blah, blah, blah. Like we always have someone, but our brain is going to tell us that we have no one. Okay. So hostess is a great person to have a conversation with. Customers are great people to have conversations with. People that are interacting on your pages, liking, commenting on your personal page, your VIP page, your stories. Something I will often do is I will just screenshot those that are watching my stories, and then I'll circle the ones that I want to go like follow up and connect with. Okay. People that you know, like just looking for people that have talked about gas prices, blah, blah, blah. People that you know could be blessed by the income. People that you know that could be blessed by community, by going and looking at their pages and learning about them and what is it they're sharing, what they're talking about. People that ghosted you. Okay. There are so many people that we can start having these conversations with about the opportunity. So I'm not going to go over the specifics. Jill does a really great job. So I challenge you guys to go listen to that podcast. And she's going to give you homework at the end. Okay. And this is the homework that, well, I'll just let her give it to you, unless you guys want me to give it to you. Are you going to listen to it? Or do you want me to give it to you? Okay. Actually, I'm not going to give it to you because then maybe you'll go listen to it. So it's a really simple, easy way to get access to an opportunity with a lot of conversations with different people, okay, that are watching you, that are in your space, that you have not had that conversation with. It's going to create a lot of opportunities to offer, to share with them and go over the feel, felt, found, which is again something that Jill will go over in that podcast. So anyway, that's kind of all that I kind of prepared. I'm going to be going deeper into that conversation that I shared about, and I'm open. I will share. So there's like stats and things that I will share with you because I feel like it is valuable to have that relationship with someone, to be a human with them, to joke, whatever, but to still have some valid, solid numbers that can speak to the validity of our product, the validity of our comp plan, the validity of our timing and culture. And I will share those with you guys, and so that you guys have them, and then we will dive through them with my business coach when we do that call. But people need this, you guys. Inflation is crazy. People are looking for what you have with Zaya. So you are not asking for favors. You are offering something that could change their life. The reason that I am so that I recruit is because I believe in it so strong. And the reason I believe in it strong is because I was willing to take action when I personally didn't have evidence to support that. Okay. If you're not asking, that's already a no. So you might as well ask, right? I mean, if you don't ask, it's a no. So if you're afraid of the no, that's what you're choosing by not inviting. So you might as well ask, get that seed planted, get curious, ask them. Don't be afraid to ask why. Like, hey, I get it. Like, I feel you. I never saw myself doing something like this. I would love to know what it is for you that makes you want to say no. Get curious, ask them so that you can then speak to those conversations, those objections, and invite them to get on a phone call with you. Talk to them in real life. Don't be weird. Figure out what you're going to say when people say, hey, what do you do for a living? Hey, where'd you get those leggings? Practice if you need to. My husband still speaks Russian after learning it 100 years ago, and it's because he talks to himself in the car. So just talk to yourself, role play with someone, role play with yourself, and your confidence will grow. Anyway, you guys, the world isn't a weird place, but we have something amazing to share with them, and we have a way to change their life. There is enough resources and things in the world for every single human on this earth to be a millionaire. Did you know that? I didn't know that. So it's just our beliefs and our thoughts about our ability to achieve that. So shift that and your results will change. Anyway, does anyone have questions? Did I miss some? Yes, I love the scale thing. I think that's awesome. That's such a good idea. Do you guys read that? Wendy said, some of my favorite questions. What's holding you back? On a scale of 1 to 10, and 10, ready to start, where do you see yourself? What would it take you to get to a 10? So things like that. Anyway. All right, you guys, you're awesome. You got this. People want to work with you and no one else. There's a reason that you are you. Okay. All right. I think we're done. I will stop the recording. Thank you. Oh, last name. My name is Meghan Walker. Real Life with Megs.rn, which I actually worked my very last nursing shift last week, you guys. It's amazing. 2.5 years with my first company. Didn't even come close to replacing my full-time income. A year with Zaya, it did. We're part of something special.